podcast never felt this great. Tables, ladders, chairs, they tell it all, from the highest highs to the lowest fall. Great and glory tales from the ring, every chant, every cheer they'll bring. Devon and the Duke bring the heat, wrestling tales knock you off your seat. Tune in now, don't you be late. Wrestling podcast never felt this great.
Brothers and sisters, welcome back. Welcome back to the Devon and the Duke podcast. This is a limited edition series hosted by your main man, Duke Loves Wrestling, and of course, the five-time Hall of Famer, the man that is beloved by the WWE, TNA, ABC, CBS, FBI, you name it. All the acronyms here. Brother Devon Dudley, what's going on, man?
Oh, I wish that was so true. They still hate me.
Come on now. You couldn't sell that bill of goods to anybody. Stop that. Come on.
Listen, I'm telling you, I'm probably one of the most hated men. No, I'm joking.
You're joking.
I'm joking.
Come on. In fact, we know you're joking because your YouTube channel has blown up through the roof. We keep giving these updates, folks. Devon, where are you at now with your YouTube subscriptions?
Over 80,000.
Incredible.
I mean, and you know, and in about what? It took about a month, like a couple of days, over a month. And I wanted that for that to be. I mean, I'm shocked. I had no idea the power of it, and you know how that would transpire into things. But I guess it's a big deal.
It's a very big deal. It's very unusual. And you could stand up in front of the world now with the Oscar and say, they like me. They really like me. Because that,
Yeah.
you know, you knocking it out of the park. And what's this thing? Now we talked about him a couple weeks ago, and then next thing we know, you're on his show. He's on you. What's up with the Undertaker, brother?
Oh, well, you know, he did my show. I did his show. And we just had a lot of fun doing it.
Wow.
Talked about the past, talked about our matches together, you know, the Brothers of Destruction versus the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, and the Hardys. I mean, we really did really well.
That is something else. You know what the problem is, Devon? I think
Yes.
because you're such a kind-hearted, good guy, and you make yourself accessible, it can be easy for people to forget that you're as big of a deal as you are. So a lot of people popped when you did Taker's show and then he did your show, because it's like, oh yeah, like this dude really is on that level where it's not that Devon is going to collaborate with a legend. It's that two legends are collaborating with each other. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it was a nice reminder of, you know, the respect and the admiration and
Right.
the degree of reverement, if that's a word, that you have earned. You know what I'm saying? The Undertaker is a singles wrestler, but Devon Dudley is the Undertaker of the tag team wrestling. You know, like you're on the same level. So that was really cool. That was really cool, man.
Well, you know, it was brought to my attention that I guess my brand is very hot right now. And I didn't know that because I don't really look into things like that or know enough to follow things like that. But, you know, if it is, you know, thank God.
You could run for office right now. Let's put it like that. Okay. If you wanted to be, and listen, now that we got a convicted felon who's also a WWE Hall of Famer and he's two-time president, you could at least be a one-time president, Devon. Come on.
Listen, that means all my dirty secrets got to come out.
We got to throw the whole playbook out, man. It's a new world now. You know what I'm saying? So you don't got to worry about that anymore. That might actually get you elected. You know? See?
If I just say I'm sorry, I'll be forgiven.
That's it. Just say sorry. In case you folks didn't know, Devon on Wednesday nights, he likes to wash his car wearing his finest Speedo out there in the front yard. So just so you folks know, I mean, this guy, he's out there with these things. It might get him elected though. So it is what it is, folks.
That's okay. It's going to be on the next episode.
That's right. Listen, seriously though, everybody, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much for all of the support across the board. It is just fantastic to see how enthusiastic people are about Devon and what he has going on, and that's the way it is, man. That was always the goal here, and we're just going to keep that train rolling. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube, check it out. There's all kinds of cool things going on over there, including this guy who thinks he's hot stuff with his southern charm. We're talking about Maven. He keeps showing his face up on there, and Devon, sometimes he has to put him in a headlock, but it is what it is. So there's a lot of good stuff going on over there, right?
Every time I refer to Maven, I'm like, that bitch.
Listen, he had a good drop kick, man. You better watch yourself now. He had a good drop kick.
Yeah, I don't know if you go on YouTube, you can check me out whooping his ass on YouTube too. I remind him all the time.
Yeah. Listen, and he takes it in stride. I give him a lot of credit. He takes it in stride. My goodness, so much has happened since the last time we came together here, and it's incredible. The YouTube, this show, WWE, everything just continues to grow through the roof, and there's no stopping it. Something happened where Jacob Fatu, one of the newest members of the WWE family, he basically had his official coming out party where on Saturday night's main event, he took on Braun Strowman. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, but Braun Strowman technically won the match. Jacob was disqualified in the match. But Jacob beat the daylights out of Braun Strowman, beat him bloody, left him laying there in a big heap of mess. And it was so graphic and it was so scary that all the way over in Germany, on the front page of their newspapers, they were saying that an ex-convict bludgeons WWE Superstar. And they had a picture of Braun Strowman laying on the mat, bloodied and beaten. And the story was about how Jacob Fatu snapped and beat the hell out of Braun Strowman. So, I mean, kayfabe is alive, brother, and running wild, okay? That's all I could say to that. What are your thoughts about that? Just the fact that pro wrestling is getting front page coverage again around the world, and for the right reasons. It legitimately is part of the actual action.
For them to look at Jacob Fatu and to say an ex-convict, bludgeoned Braun Strowman, I think it's hilarious. Keeping to the storyline, I get it, but still, and to make mainstream media like that, it's incredible. For them to actually do that, again, it's just a testament to what they're doing over there. It's very believable that even people, all it takes is somebody who doesn't watch the show on a regular basis to turn on the show and to run into that and to see that, and them be a reporter and to even acknowledge a storyline like that. That's good TV.
It's good TV. It's must-see TV, and again, it's something that separate from Roman, even though it's still a continuation of the bloodline storyline overall. This is separate from Roman. It's separate from Cody, and yet it made that type of impression. This is a whole different level. Jacob is not even a year in the company, and he's already making those types of headlines. That's a big deal. That's a very big deal.
When you look at the history of the Samoan dynasty, Peter Maivia, which we all know is The Rock's grandfather. Then, of course, Alpha and Sika, the Wild Samoans. Then Roman's brother, Rosie, God rest his soul, coming in and doing things with Hurricane, or doing things with Umanga, 3-minute warning, tearing up WWE at one point. And then, of course, Rosie getting with Hurricane to do the superhero gimmick, which got over. And, then of course Umanga leaving, 3-minute warning and going on his own. So, and then you go from that to the Usos to Roman. And I forgot about The Rock, but put The Rock in, of course, before Roman and the Usos. And it's amazing how long the Samoan dynasty has led the WWE into the stories that they have and the success that they have. And the great thing about it is I've been there for every single one of it. Uh, Even Jacob Fatu's father, Hama, teaming up with Haku as the Islanders. I was a big fan of Jacob's father. The athleticism that he had was unreal. The bounce in his step. I mean, how he would jump off the top turnbuckle, and still jump up and be like 15 to 20 feet up in the air from the ring. He was that impressive, and I'm sure you remember his father,
Absolutely.
teaming up with legendary Hall of Fame, if not on the Hall of Fame yet, I believe he is, but if he isn't, he will be Haku. It was amazing to see how, him, wrestle, and the whole feud with him and Jimmy Snuka versus Piper, Orndorff, and Orton. That whole thing during the Rock and Wrestling connection. So the history goes back way, way far, and just to know that that family has been on top since for that long, that's truly amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you're bringing me way back talking about the Islanders and having Bobby Heenan as their manager. What a
Hmm.
great tag team that was, man! Oh my goodness, what a great tag team. Ironic shout out to Tama, aka Sam Fatu, and of course you already mentioned him, Haku. Those are the original Islanders, and just man, there was a third Islander, right? Siva was an Islander, right?
Yes, Siva was an Islander as well, but I don't know if he was with the family.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know if he was with the family. He was Samoan, but I don't know if he was with the family.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, yeah. Siva was another one there. Boy, those are some good years, man, and some great tag
Absolutely.
team wrestling too. Oh my god, wow. You
When this
know,
generation talks about wrestling, you got to, they don't know what it was like to be in the 80s and the 90s and how good wrestling really was.
they have no idea. I mean, think about this. On the NWA side, where you had the Road Warriors, who like you even said, the greatest tag team of all time. But you also had Arn and Tully, the Midnight Express, and the Rock and Roll Express. You had all that going on one side. But then in the WWF, what we know as the WWE today, you had the Islanders and the Hart Foundation, the Killer Bees, and
The British
the
Bulldogs,
British Bulldogs. You start going down the list, it's like, oh man, Demolition, the Powers of Pain, like
the Killer Bees.
the Killer Bees. Which shout
Hmm.
out to B. Brian Blair, a name that's not brought up enough, but all the stuff that he does with the Cauliflower Alley Club is so fantastic. And every chance I get, I always want to give my brother a shout out there. Shout out B. Brian Blair, especially. Good man. Very good man there. But
Absolutely.
just that was the heyday. The 80s really were the heyday in tag team wrestling. And we
Look,
really, no disrespect to anybody. So please, folks, don't get the pitchforks out when I say this. For me, as a fan, I didn't feel that tag team wrestling went back to that level again until we started getting the Dudley Boys versus Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys and stuff like that. Like, your generation, especially during that Attitude Era time, you kind of brought back tag team wrestling and made it something again.
yes. And I also feel that the 80s, the late 70s, going into the 80s, going into the 90s, that whole Hogan and Andre era, even leading up to the Brett and Shawn era, there's never going to be a generation of wrestling that's going to top those eras. Now, in my opinion, growing up as a kid, watching it, idolizing it, the Hogan and Andre era was the best. All of the personalities that they had back then, that people remember to this day, and people go, "Oh, those old time guys." If it wasn't for the old time guys, the new time guys wouldn't be here. And that's what the level of respect that is gone from this generation, because they think it's okay to say things about the people that come before them, or they think it's okay to disrespect. Now this was back in the day when, you disrespected somebody who was older, you get the shit smacked out of them. But, at the same token, you can't do things like that anymore because, of course, they're little bees, excuse my expression, they're little bees. They open their mouth on the computer, they open their mouth in text message, and then when they finally see the person right there, then they want to bitch up, and then the other guy winds up smacking the hell out of them. But they're wrong for doing that. But yet you're not wrong for going outside of the norm by texting them stupid stuff. So when you run into them, they wind up whooping you behind.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. People have gotten too comfortable being disrespectful, not sharing an opinion, but being disrespectful. And, you know, you could catch a lawsuit these days, so that's the only reason why they feel like they can do it. Because in reality, there was a
Hmm.
time where you had to actually back up what you had to say. And
Yep.
for those of us who come from that generation, it could be very jarring uh, to experience today, because it's like, damn, if this was back when it was back then, I would wring your damn neck. But I got to find another way today because you're just going to sue anyway. So it just is what it is, man. It's unfortunate, but
Well, here's the hard part. Here's the hard part as well. Social media has hurt the wrestling business so bad. It's helped it, but it's hurt it.
yeah,
I remember
yeah,
when somebody showed up at the building that hadn't been in WWE for 10, 15 years, or somebody that hadn't been in WCW or NWA 10, 15 years, and they were coming back. You were surprised because nowadays it's leaked on the internet that we saw such and such in the back. He's probably going to be on Raw or SmackDown tonight. Where back in the day before the internet, you didn't have that. So when you watched pro wrestling, you were genuinely surprised. You didn't have to go on social media and read it. This is why people are taking precautions now that when they want to do a surprise, these people got to go like 3 mile, like 10 miles away from the actual venue, or flying to another part of the state so that they're not getting recognized. The whole point of pro wrestling is to entertain. If you know beforehand what's going to happen and what's going on beforehand, how are you being entertained? How are you being genuinely surprised? You're just not. And the internet has messed that up in so many different ways. When it was revealed that I was a part of the Aces and Eights in TNA, I had to stay. They flew me in the day of the show, had me stay at least 20 miles away from the building and 20 miles away from the actual hotel that everybody was staying at. I couldn't come to the building until 20 to 30 minutes after the pay per view started. And then when I got to the building, they had me pull over about maybe 6 blocks away from the building, drop me off of my rent a car to an unmarked car that was fully black and tinted windows and everything. Then they had me put on a ski mask. They had me put on a hoodie that went from my neck, of course, to down my arms. They had me wear a mask, like one of those motorcycle masks, and I couldn't get out of the car unless I wore it. But these are the measures that you have to go through now in order to show up as a surprise at a wrestling event. Because if not, the minute they see you within 10 to 15 seconds, it's on the internet. And just within that 10 to 15 seconds, it's on every major site that could be on that would do that. So, it's lost. It's not the same anymore. That's what I think that's what hurts the business a lot. There's so much going on. People can actually, talk crap or what have you. And I don't know, it's just weird. It helps it in a sense too, because you can build storylines up like that. But then again, it's like there's the good and then there's the bad.
you're absolutely right. And it's so interesting that you bring that up, because this wasn't part of our original agenda, so to speak. But I'm gonna take a detour here and bring you up to speed on something that happened online that affected a lot of people. And if you haven't heard about it yet, Devon, I'm sure you will soon. Let me start from the beginning here. There's a young man who is a podcaster who he's known for having quote unquote inside information. Young man by the name of Ibu, Ibou, Ibu. And I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, folks. So if I'm not, I apologize, Ibu. That's not on purpose. I've heard your name said different ways, but for the most part, people say Ibu, so that's what I'm going to call you until corrected. Ibu was recently picked up by Fightful. And Fightful as a website and a brand, their minority owner is Sean Ross Sapp, who basically is like the new Meltzer, so to speak. For some reason, he gets a lot of exclusives and a lot of information, what have you. So he's a guy that ends up getting quoted a lot in the dirt sheets. And even when he's wrong, even when he doesn't know what he's talking about, like in your case, by the way, when other people in his publication didn't know what they were talking about and they were talking nonsense, and yet he still defended it, he gets a pass for some reason. It's very strange to me, but it is what it is. Anyway, they picked up Ibu, and all was well until someone found out that Ibu, behind a paywall, mind you, charging people for this information, he was telling real behind the scenes secrets that was shared with him, like real stuff. He was talking about who's sleeping with who, and Tony Khan calling him and yelling at him about something and cussing about this, and this one was fighting with that one, and all kinds of stuff that the quality of what he was saying was a little bit too detailed for it not to be true. And I know a lot of people want to say, oh, he was just making it up. Come on, folks. That's just not the case for the most part. This guy was told this information by people who are involved, but they were speaking to him in confidence, clearly, and he admitted that. He put it behind the paywall and was charging people for that information, unfortunately, and he got outed for it. And he got suspended from all the different publications that do business with him, and everybody online is talking crap and all that stuff about him. And hey, he's taking his lumps. It is what it is. But my point in saying all that is, here you have a dirt sheet person who is pillow talking. They're being told things in confidence, and yet they're still running out. They can't even contain themselves. They got to go and tell everybody, as long as they pay for it, by the way. But they got to go and tell everybody people's business. And like you said, it just ruins the mystique. It ruins the whole notion of what pro wrestling is supposed to be about. And that sucks because, as fans, we just want to be entertained, man. Do we really need to know who's sleeping with who and all this, and who's fighting with who and all this other nonsense? Come on. So it's funny that you brought that up there, Devon, because that was a trending topic this past weekend.
Well, see, that's the problem. If somebody's sleeping with somebody within the company, whose business is that and why? If John is sleeping with Sarah and Sarah is sleeping with Ken and all of that, leave it alone. It's not your business. There's no reason to even talk about it or bring it up. And if you're going to be a journalist, then be a journalist for good stuff, not bad, not negative. Stop trying to be the inquirer of the pro wrestling world. That's what I don't get. The minute you want to get that for your personal knowledge because you like gossip, then by all means, take it in, put it in your Rolodex in your brain, and have it stored. So when the next conversation comes up with somebody off the record, you can go ahead and talk and do whatever you want. But to actually put it in print and to put it out there just to gain followers or subscriptions or what have you, whatever, however you benefit from it, it's wrong. It's complete gossip. You're nothing but a glorified Inquirer, National Enquirer reporter. That's the way I look at it. If that's being done.
Absolutely, because again, these are not on the record conversations with people who are there. This person is pillow talking.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who don't understand what pillow talking means, it comes from the whole notion of when you're laying in bed next to somebody who has information and they're telling you in confidence what's going on, and then they're literally, as you're laying on the pillow, they're talking about very sensitive, privileged information. This he's pillow talking. He's taking that information and go running around the block with it.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've learned the definition of pillow talking through the television series on Lifetime TV called 90 Day Fiance. They would show they would show an episode of 90 Day Fiance, and then right after, don't you go anywhere. We got pillow talk with such and such and such and such. And I'd be like, oh, okay. I never remember when the first time I heard it, I was like, pillow talk, that's interesting. And what caught my attention was that I never heard of the term pillow talk before, so I had no idea what it was about. All it was a recap of the move of the television show, and like you said, things that had gone on that might have been very sensitive or what have you, and they were talking about it. It was always the tragedy that happened during the episode.
Yeah. Yeah. And shout out to 90 Day Fiance. What a hell of a show that is. But you're absolutely right. You're talking about it from the sense of the show, which is really a controlled version of it. But, let's say you have you and I are in a feud with each other. We got a problem with each other, what have you. And let's say that, you are now in a relationship with somebody who I used to be in a relationship with. And she's telling you my personal business. Well, Duke, he puts ketchup on his steak. You know that, right? And stupid shit. That's pillow talking. She telling my business when she ain't even supposed to be telling my business, right?
Or he likes his head, or he likes his head rubbed during climaxing.
Exactly, right? That kind of stuff. So, and I'm not trying to insinuate anything beyond what it was, but this guy going around telling people's business to that degree, he was pillow talking, and he's learning his lesson. But this is why, as they say, we can't have nice things, because there's always some jerk who ruins it. And the dirt sheets aren't clean on this.
No,
especially Fightful. You hired that guy because he has access to that type of information, and the only reason why you have a problem now is because people complained about it.
I was gonna say, listen, I don't want nobody to know I like my nipples rubbed before I get to that point,
Whoa! What kind of Eddie Murphy we got going on right now?
Speaking of Eddie Murphy, we just saw him on, I think it was BET. They showed Eddie Murphy's Raw. It was great. The Fufu and Jimmy Walker.
Oh.
Eddie, why were you in the club with Danny Terrio? And why did you punch Jimmy Walker in the lips? I like good times, Eddie. Why do that?
Oh, I like good times.
Oh, you got hit in the mouth. You got hit in the mouth, and you look like Jimmy Walker. Okay, that'll do it. Or the part when he goes, "Women, let me ask you a question. Think about it. When you made that sound, ooh, when your man made you go ooh for the first time, he was in that pillow talking crap. Then, yeah, I got this motherfucking. Yeah, this is mine. Whose is it? Who is it? I'm rolling on the floor because it just reminded me so much of when I first saw it back as a teenager. How funny Eddie Murphy really was, and then he started doing freaking Dr. Doolittle and Shrek, and it killed everything. Everything that Eddie Murphy was known for back in the 80s as being the top comedian of all time back then had just left my soul when he did Dr. Doolittle.
Yeah, different. Listen, he did the WWE, man. He pivoted from the Attitude Era and focused on the kids stuff.
But again, he catered to the kids, which WWE has done. Yeah. Give point in case, John Cena catered to, he came out, catered to the demographic between 25 and 45 with the rapping and the vulgarity that came along with it. But then they were going into a different era, which was the what was it, PG era, I think it was, or whatever. They went back to like the Hogan and Andre era, where they were just focusing on the kids, and then it went from dirty rap that John Cena was doing to now no rapping at all, just cutting promos.
Hustle, loyalty, respect, right?
Yep. Now, it was funny because when John first came into WWE, I remember this was when we would have people leave voice messages on your phone, like when they would call you and they would get the incoming. John did a really cool rap for me on my phone. This was years and years ago. I'm talking like 2002, 2003. He just freestyled on my phone. Hey, yo, this is Devon. I'm not here right now. Leave your name and number. And whatever stuff he was saying, it was real cool, though. I had it on my phone for years. And then, of course, I lost the
That's
phone or the
fun.
phone broke and this and that. But back then, they didn't have it where you could transfer it over, like from your phone to the computer. So that way you would like have it. Or they didn't have a iCloud at the time. So, lost all of that. But yeah, John was really cool when he did that. But again, that was just the time. Everything is timing. Even take a look at our TLC matches. When Shawn and Razor Ramon did their ladder match, it was a perfect time for that. They weren't the first ones to ever do one, but they were the first ones to do it. Number one at WrestleMania, and number two at the magnitude that they did it at. So it's always timing. Timing is always the answer for a lot of things, and during that it was perfect for them to actually have that ladder match during that time. And it was also good for us to have, our match at the TLC match. So, it is what it is. It's all timing, Duke.
It's all timing indeed. And shout out, listen, first of all, shout out to Mfufu because, she wants half, Eddie. I need half. So shout out to Mfufu. Eddie Murphy, John Cena, the whole 9 yards there. It's like you said, man, life comes in different stages like that. And some stages you want to be more extreme than others, and others you got to clean it up. And it all depends on how you're making money and who you're marketing to. It's very important. You brought up the TLC matches and the ladder matches and what have you in particular. Dangerous,
Yes.
dangerous stuff. The ante kept getting upped as time went by, and thank God we live in a period of time now where we're taking injuries and stuff like that more seriously. A major injury happened this week on Raw. JD
Oh
McDonagh
God, yes. I
during a
saw it.
match. Yeah,
Yeah.
this poor guy. He did a dive out to the floor. And to make a long story short, by the time he got to the hospital and they checked him out, he was diagnosed with broken ribs, a punctured lung. I mean, just completely worse for wear, unfortunately. So, definitely get well soon, JD McDonagh. But from a
Yes.
general perspective there, Devon, what are your thoughts on that terrible injury that this poor guy received there?
Well, this is why Bubba and I always stayed in the ring. And if we fought outside the ring, we would go outside the apron, jump down to go to the floor. Neither one of us was doing 450 moonsaults or any of that stuff outside because when you do that, that's the risk you take. You know, you don't have control over gravity. You just don't. You pray every time you jump out of that ring. And it was unfortunate. I saw it and wow, just to see his head snap back off that announce table. Good God. I can't imagine the pain that went through that boy's body when it happened. I mean, again, my prayers and thoughts are with him and his family, and hopefully a speedy recovery, and he's able to bounce back from all of this. But damn, that was a rough bump.
Yeah, that was definitely a rough bump. And I mean, puncturing a lung and you got broken ribs. This poor guy, every time he inhales, he's feeling pain.
But I'm,
You
but I'm
know,
yes, but I'm wondering how did he puncture a rib? How did he puncture the rib?
that, well, puncture a lung. You mean puncture the lung, right?
I mean, a lung. I'm sorry. That's what I meant. I'm sorry, but how was he able to do that?
It's got to just be the way he landed when he hit that table, right? Because he did the dive
Mm,
outside and then he smacked that table pretty hard. Everyone was concerned that he hit his head and that maybe it was just going to be a
that's what I
concussion.
was
But if you
concerned with.
look at yeah, yeah. But if you look at the way that his
Mm.
below his shoulders landed, it hit the edge of that damn table, man. It sure did. So everything just got crunched right there. It's tough. It's tough. Listen, I'm not a fan of the diving outside of the ring. I don't think that in 2025 there's a place for it per se. It's not necessary, quite frankly. I think we need to dial that back. Uh, Diving outside the ring happens more often than a drop kick or a headlock these days, and that's ridiculous.
My opinion, and I think about this a lot, especially when an old timer had expressed to me about this. We jumping out of the ring, doing any sort of moonsault or anything outside the ring like that should be something that should be special and not done all the time. You know, again, that's just my opinion. Some people might think I'm wrong in this, and that's fine. But I tell you what, longevity is the key. You know, I've lasted 33 years. So, longevity is key. When you start doing stuff outside the ring, yes, you're wowing the people. Yes, you're making the matches more spontaneous. But at the same token, boy, the risk that you are taking when you go outside that ring to the outside, especially when you're diving or doing anything like that, good God. Oof. Again, I hope that brother comes back ready to go, and that anything that's ailing him, bothering him of any sort, he's able to get past that and come on back and get back in the ring and do what he does best.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, shout out to JD. He's a hell of a wrestler. Seems like a real nice guy as well. I've been proud of the fact that he's grown so much, starting off in NXT UK and on NXT, and he's managed to get himself up to the main shows. He's on Raw, featured regularly and what have you, especially as part of Judgment Day. It's tough to see a guy who's worked that hard and accomplished that much to now be put on the shelf and be put on the shelf for a reason that was avoidable. So again, all of you younger wrestlers out there, and anyone who's actively wrestling, you got to really count the costs here. Is it worth it to get injured this close to Royal Rumble, this close to WrestleMania, those paydays and what have you? Is it worth it? Maybe you want to find a better way to tell your stories in the ring. Keywords or key phrase in the ring. And I'll just leave it at that. Devon, something that we covered a couple weeks back here on the show, and we got a tremendous response on, was the fact that people were referring to Kurt Angle as Perk Angle in reference to the fact that during a period of time he was addicted to prescription painkillers, Percocet in particular. And you and I both had pointed out that it's not funny. We shouldn't be making fun of addiction, and people need to stop referring to him that way. Well, fast forward to this past week, Kurt has finally spoken out publicly about it, and he made it clear that it's something that bothers him when people refer to him as Perk Angle, and he's been sober for years now. I think it's about 7 years straight he's been sober, and referring back to his time when he was an addict, it hurts his feelings. And it's really not. He knows that people may not necessarily mean to insult him the way that they're doing, but they're definitely insulting him, and he definitely would prefer that they stop referring to him that way. There's an irony in that. So anything more to add to that there, Devon? I think it's unfortunate that Kurt has to even speak up and say that himself. People making fun of his addiction. He has to kindly ask everybody to stop doing that. What are your thoughts on that there, Devon?
What comes around goes around. And what I mean by that is you are making fun of a man who's had a problem, who's had an abuse problem. He's had demons that he had to fight. And once he conquered them, he got his life back together again. And so, with that being said, why are you even harping over the fact that something that he has already paid the price for, something that he has been through that probably nearly killed him, but he got over it? Why would you sit there and make fun of the man, knowing that it was very hard and difficult for him to go through? For those of them that are doing that, what comes around goes around. There's going to be something that is very powerful to you or very close to you that you don't want coming out or what have you, that might come out and then be made fun of at the same token. And that's when they say karma, because you can't do that to people and expect something not to come back at you, especially something like this. So I tell Kurt to hold his head up high and continue doing what you're doing. Don't worry about those guys. I know it's hard to just like tune them out, but you got to try, Kurt. I know he can.
Yeah, we know he can and we know he will. I mean, Kurt has such an inspirational story on so many fronts. He's accomplished so much in life. He's faced so much adversity. The fact that he continues to be the man that he is today is inspirational. We don't need to be knocking a person like that. We need to continue to celebrate a person like that, folks.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're doubling down. Please do what Kurt asked you to do. Do not ever refer to that man as Perk Angle ever again. That is just wrong. It's wrong. You would not want anyone to take the worst period of your life, and when you have finally got over that hump and you're doing well and what have you, to continue to bring that up and throw it in their face. That is just crazy to me.
No, again, these are people that have no business with an opinion, you know, has no business on opinion on saying anything remotely about him or his addiction. They just don't have the right to do that.
Agreed. Agreed 100%. And again, the fact that the man was strong enough to beat it, it's like celebrate that, man. Don't be giving this guy a hard time and thinking it's funny. Like people are just insensitive, man. It's as simple as that. Just insensitive people. Um, on a brighter note, NXT this week on the CW, and as you folks know, every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, WWE NXT CW, fantastic show. It's probably overall the best pro wrestling show on TV week to week. And certainly they did not disappoint with their main event this week. Naomi and Bianca Belair, the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, they defeated Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. So the champs went down to NXT and took on the Young Bucks, so to speak, there, and showed them a few things. But 4 black women in the main event on national TV for the World Tag Team Championships. Devon, as a person who is a Hall of Famer 5 times over, as a person who's worked with so many wonderful women and helped them with their careers just as a peer, and then through today as a person who is a trainer and a mentor and a coach, producer. You have helped guide so many other women and taught them how to wrestle, and they've gone on to do so well. What are your thoughts on these 4 talented, beautiful, wonderful black women main eventing on national TV for the World Tag Team Championships?
I mean, it's incredible. It shows you how far African American people have come, not only in this business, but just all over. It's a great feat when you see that, and people are now starting to pay. People are now starting to do the right thing when it comes to stuff like that, and not look at it as a race thing. You know, people are actually, putting people who deserve to be in the main event or deserve to be what have you within the business or company that they're in. If they belong to be on, if they need to be, deserve to be on top, then guess what? You put them on top. You do the right thing.
Do the right thing indeed. How important is it to have folks with the experience of a Naomi and a Bianca Belair main event at WrestleMania? How important is it to have experienced folks like that come down and help these younger folks in the business who are still trying to figure it out? How important is that type of matchup?
But
Because you've done it a million times over.
yeah, it's definitely important, to get those that have come before you to give you that type of advice to help you get to where they once was is huge. And it should be done like that, not just, put down at the wayside and never revisit it again, to help somebody that is now coming up in the business where you have been the one that has been on top for a long time. So it's good that that happens, that the older generation can take heed to helping the younger generation. Now, you got to remember, at a certain point in this business, it wasn't like that because the old timers still wanted that recognition of being number one. So they didn't want to give up their spot to help out the young guys. But now you have it where the older guys like to do that because if you don't make the younger generation, this business is done. It's gone. It's going to be extinct.
Yeah, you have to leave the business better than when you first entered, right?
Absolutely.
When you walked in, it was at a certain level, and hopefully when you walk away, it was better off because you contributed something more to whatever it was. And it's just awesome. And to see Naomi and Bianca in that role, wow, that's special. Because how many women had to put them over in order to help them with their development? You know what I'm saying? So to give that back and do it in a main event situation. Listen, Lash Legend has only been in the business a couple of years. And the same thing with Jakara Jackson. And these women were not pro wrestlers before entering the WWE. They're still pretty green. They're in the main event, battling for the World Tag Team Championships, and they're doing so with two legends. That is just, whew.
Yeah.
Brother, that's not just cake. That's ice cream with the cherry on top. I'm telling you. Wow. Very, very proud of everybody involved there. And again, kudos, WWE. You figured it out, did it again. That's awesome.
Absolutely. And
Awesome
they keep doing it.
Yeah.
That's the great part.
Yeah.
They keep doing it.
They keep doing it. They keep doing it, which lets me know they're committed to it. Most importantly, they're committed to it. Let me ask you this. Jey Uso, is it time to put the belt on him or should we still wait? I mean, he is getting recognition and getting pops as big as anybody for the whole night. And in fact, he's getting right now, Jey Uso is getting bigger crowd reaction than CM Punk is. Do you think it's time to put the belt on Jey, or should we still wait a little bit longer before we get there?
Let me ask you a question. We put the belt on Jey. Where do we go from there? Who's lined up
Everywhere.
for him? But who's lined up?
Everywhere.
Okay, but wait a minute. Here's the same problem that we're running in with Cody. After you win the title, what's next for you? Who's on the horizon? Who's gonna make you that ultimate babyface with the belt? Who's gonna help you to carry that? Because you need a top heel. The Rock had a bunch of guys lined up for him. Stone Cold Steve Austin, a bunch of guys, Hulk Hogan, a bunch of guys. Who is next in line if Jey gets that title? Who's going to help him continue? Who's going to help him continue? Who's going to
throw
chase
Drew
him?
McIntyre at him.
Okay.
You could throw Drew McIntyre at him. You can throw Kofi and Xavier at him. Right? They got history with each other, and those guys are heels right now.
No, I was gonna say I don't know, and I say that because yes, the Usos and the New Day, we all remember their feud. We all get that, but it was in a tag team. Will it still hold as singles competitors?
There's a way to do it.
Right. No, there is a way, but I'm asking, what do you think is next? Who's next for him? Now, once he wins the title, it's like Tommy Rich with the NWA. He was over like $1 million. They wanted him to win that title. He kept going after, getting screwed over. When he finally won the title, it was like, wow, Tommy Rich has arrived. It was great. But then after, there was no buildup anymore. There was nobody there for him. That's the only thing I'm scared about if you give Jey the belt now. To have him chase the belt and continue to chase the belt, yes, that will keep it going. That'll keep him even stronger. But you could only do that for so long before people say, okay, he ain't winning the title. He's been going at it for so long. Okay, we had enough of him. When is the right time? You just got to make sure that you have the right opponents for him when he does win that title.
I'm throwing Drew McIntyre at him.
Okay.
I'm throwing the New Day. I'm throwing the new bloodline at him. I'm throwing Jacob. I'm throwing Solo. Listen, I'm throwing Roman at him.
Okay.
That should keep him busy for the next year, right?
I see that. I mean, he's a worthy opponent. I see that.
You'll steal houses with that. If you just give him that lineup alone, you'll steal houses. Not to mention Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn will be a good, compelling matchup and feud, because then you got Kevin Owens is going to have to be factored into that as well. Yeah. So, the reactions are there. And I said it before last episode, Jey reminds me of Macho Man Randy Savage in terms of how the crowd is reacting to him. There is something about that connection that he has with the people that is not manufactured. He earned it. And I think that you could do it. I still believe John Cena should be the one that Jay should defeat for the title, which means Cena has to defeat Gunther first. But it can be done. I see it. At least at SummerSlam. Do it at SummerSlam. Let Cena beat Gunther at WrestleMania. Let Jey Uso win at SummerSlam. And then we start cooking.
Okay. I mean, like I said, I see it. I see what you're saying. I just hope that would be the case if he does. If it is
Yeah.
time, is it time to put the title on? Yes. Do I think it is? Yes. But I'm just nervous and scared about what's going to happen after the title is put on him. That's all I'm saying. I'm just scared. It needs to be done the right way. Now they've been hitting home runs with everybody so far, so I can't see them dropping the ball on him. I think if they put the title on him, I think they're gonna know exactly why they're putting it on him, and they're going to do the right thing.
I think the notion of Jay growing up before our eyes the way that he has really inspired people and gotten them behind him. So I don't think the people are going to leave him once he becomes champion. I think, in fact, I think they're going to stay behind him. But you're right; he's got to have the proper type of heels to put him in a position of danger, so
Mhm.
people can give a damn. Make Jay Uso Ricky Morton with a belt. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna have to get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
Like I want to see him get beat down. I want to see women in the front row crying and kids crying about Jay. I want to, people almost ready to jump the railing because they want to save Jay. Like we need that level of emotion in order to make this make sense. I think Cody keeps trying to evoke that, and it's been kind of lukewarm. It ain't hot yet. It's been kind of lukewarm, but I think Jay Uso could pull that off.
Hmm.
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But it's exciting the fact that we could have that degree of conversation about Jay Uso of all people. You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn, the tag team wrestler guy, and we're talking about him being champion. That's awesome. That's
Right.
awesome stuff there. And you know what else is awesome? Devon is out and about, folks. If you want to meet the big man, get an autograph, share a memory with him, and literally just be a part of history because you get to meet one of your heroes there, then certainly you want to pay attention to what he has to say. In fact, Devon, this upcoming weekend, where are you going to be?
I'll be in Indianapolis, Indiana. We'll be there, Bubba myself for during the Royal Rumble weekend. Um, we will be there signing autographs with a host of other, um, wrestling superstars. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't have the exact venue, but we'll be in Indianapolis. You can definitely find us and look us up or what have you. But we're gonna have fun and we're gonna meet the fans and just have a good time like we always do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And hey, listen, watch yourself. You might get put through a table, folks. All right, come correct now. Come correct. But wait a second. You're going to be out there Royal Rumble weekend. So I have to ask, I got to do my due diligence here. Is there a possibility that Devon Dudley is going to be one of the 30 competitors? And can we expect to see you try to win the Royal Rumble so you can main event WrestleMania?
Well, let me put it to you this way. Anything is possible. I ain't gonna sit here and say no. I ain't gonna sit here and say yes. All I'm gonna say is anything can happen on any given day. So you just never know.
I love it. I love it. That's going to get the dirt sheets going. I love it. Devon, what's the best way everybody can keep up with you, brother? Plug away the whole 9 yards. YouTube, the car wash, the school.
Go on my YouTube channel, check it out, Devon Dudley, which is going great. Please subscribe and let me know how you like the videos. Also, you can catch me on Instagram. Instagram is my way of doing things. You can inbox me, comment on whatever I put up there. I do get back to fans, things like that. I go on Twitter as well. Again, my Facebook is private with only close family and friends. So I do not accept anybody if you're not family or if I've known you for over 30 years and we've sat down and broke bread together. You've been at my house and things like that. Not people that have acquaintances and go, hey, how you doing? How you doing? That's it. No, you got to be real friends. You got to be family in order to be on the Facebook. But other than that, that's about it.
Love it. Love it. As always, folks, Duke Loves Wrestling on Facebook, on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, dukeloveswrestling@gmail.com. Let me know what you think. Send in your questions, your comments. Of course, Devon is hot as fire right now, so get them in while you can, folks, for sure. Before we go there, Devon, we have the super fan, Clint Carroll, who just celebrated a big birthday there, and he's a huge fan of yours. What do you have to say to our brother Clint?
Well, happy birthday, Clint. And again, like we say, another trip around the sun. Congratulations. And I hope many more. Go out there, celebrate your birthday safe and sound. Don't do anything stupid because we want to see you back next year as well. But enjoy your day and, testify.
I love it. I love it. What about your word of the week, Devon? Take us home with that, brother.
It comes from Psalms 30, verse 5. God is bringing an end to your secret tears and plan. It's your time now for peace and blessings. 2025, for those that experience heartache and pain, 2025 will be your year. I claim it and declare it right now.
Testify.
Testify indeed.
Strictly for the culture every day. Step in style in your unique way. Patterns and colors so divine. All about the perfect line. Be yourself, let your spirit fly. In this fashion, you'll touch the sky. Strictly for the culture, brand so fine. Dress to impress and show your shine. Strictly for the culture, every day. Step in style in your unique way.
Visit www.strictlyfortheculture.ca.
Backstage whispers and the crowds roar. From matching giants to legends of yore. Devon's wisdom and Duke's keen view. Every episode feels like it's brand new. Devon and the Duke bring the heat. Wrestling tales knock you off your seat. Tune in now, don't you be late. Wrestling podcast never